Things you should know before getting a golden retriever. I know everybody sees golden retrievers as the perfect family dog and they're just with everybody. They're very common in America. But the things that people don't know is how challenging they can be as dogs. So today we're gonna go over what you need to know before getting one so you can make the decision if you actually want one or be super prepared before you get one. All right, so first thing, I think everybody knows this. Golden retrievers have a lot of energy. They have a lot of drive. They're very hyper, they bounce all over the place, and they need a lot of things to satisfy their needs, or they're going to find things to satisfy their needs at your house. There's not a dog that just chills at your apartment and lays around all day. Some dogs are lazy, but for the most part, most golden retrievers I see, they are crazy, bouncing off the walls, and they need a lot of structure. And by structure, I mean you as an owner, you need to create rules for the dog or they're gonna create them for themselves. So for example, knowing where they are allowed in the house, not being allowed to jump up and steal food, not just jumping all over people, and having a schedule for when you first get them. As you can see, she has had a lot of training, but that doesn't mean it's gonna take the personality out of the dog. She is still a very hyper dog and she will jump and bounce all over the walls, but she knows when to do so and when not to do so. So she has an on and off switch. She knows time and place for when to be crazy. When we go out, we're gonna go crazy. When we're in the house, we're gonna be chill. See, she just knocked a bunch of food flying everywhere out of my pouch. Not because she's not a well-behaved dog, but she has a lot in the tank that she just needs to bounce all over the walls all the dang time. So yeah, first thing in the house, make sure you set rules. Make sure you crate train your dog, have them on a schedule so they know when they need to be chill. And when they're out, you supervise them when they're young, especially when they're young, because they're going to try to do a lot of puppy things, but they get big really quickly. So they're gonna steal food from you really easily at a young age. And when a dog learns that they can counter surf and steal food, they get better at it. Once they get better at it, they're gonna be sneakier and sneakier. So you as the owner, you have to be on top of them. You almost have to like micromanage them in the beginning and then slowly give them more freedom as they get older. A lot of people, they just let the dog do whatever they want when they're a puppy and they don't really control the problems until they become completely out of hand, which is the wrong order to do so. So make sure you add freedom slowly and not start with a bunch of freedom and then try to tailor back because you're gonna end up with a nightmare of a dog. Now, for their high energy and high drive where the dog needs a lot of fulfillment. By fulfillment, it doesn't just mean take them on a walk once a day. They need a lot of exercise. They need to actually run. And they also need a lot of mental stimulation. So for physical stimulation, yeah, running is great. So I'm gonna get her moving. Right, dogs need to run. They need a lot of space. Even walking them for an hour really doesn't do anything for your dog. Oh God. So you can tell, some dogs too, just like people, as you exercise them more, they become more fit and they need more exercise. So that's why you need the mental stimulation part where you actually teach them how to control that energy and know when to exploit and when to be chill. So right now she's staying still. I like to mix both mental and physical where they get to chill, learn to like work on their impulse control and also run around. Break. So before you get a golden, make sure you have time to do both. All right, so at first I gave you an example of how you can physically tire your dog, and now we're gonna give an example of how to mentally tire out your dog. You're gonna need both to make sure your dog is fully satisfied. So I'm gonna mix in a little bit of obedience training where she learns to kind of follow what I ask, and then later we'll kind of let her explode and be more energetic again. Weave. Orbit. Break. And what I'm actually training with her on right now, I'm working on her focus heel, so I'm gonna just do a little bit of that because even though this is just an explanation video, I'm gonna train what I actually wanna train. So her focus heel is her looking up and walking. So let's just see how she does. I'm gonna just help her with food first. Good, good, good. Break. We're gonna run that a couple times. Break. All right, so I'm gonna give you more examples of how you can use obedience training and impulse control to get your dog more mentally satisfied. So we're gonna move over to that bench over there. We're gonna work on a little bit of stays, and we're gonna go back into walking. And it's basically to just get your dog to follow things that you ask, and it gets their brain working. For dogs, it's easy for them to just blow off and go crazy. It's actually harder for them to like control themselves. So this takes a lot more out of the dog than just running. Couché. So like I said, this is harder for the dog to do than to go run off and be crazy. Most beginner dogs, they're not gonna just stay still when there's all these other things going on. We have a bunch of free space here. She knows she has access to everything. There's someone playing with the ball, kicking a soccer goal over there, and another dog running around. So for a lot of dogs, this is hard for them to do. The way to get them good at it is to practice in easy settings where they're super far away from triggers. And obviously, when you're first starting off, you're gonna put the dog on leash, and you're not just gonna do what I'm doing right here. She's a little more experienced, so that's why she's off leash right now. All right, so if you're thinking about getting a golden retriever, make sure that you remember these things. They are high energy, high drive, so they need physical and mental stimulation. And not only golden retrievers, but all dogs, they need a lot of structure and leadership. So you need to make sure that you set the rules for your dog so they don't make them on their own. Don't give them a bunch of freedom in the beginning and then deal with problems later. It's better to be proactive and start with a little bit of freedom and let them gradually earn it so they don't build bad habits that you have to reverse later.